Hey everybody, welcome to the Authenticity Podcast. I'm your host, Louis Miskelly. I'm gonna cut right to the chase. I haven't done an episode in a long time. And I was literally just sitting here and I wanted to get something uploaded, but I just wanted to say this because it's actually something I've been thinking about. When I've had a burden to, yes, be in ministry and be involved in ministry and further myself. And I'm taking steps, and I've been doing a strict Bible in 1 year plan. And God has literally been working on me with a lot of things. And I think about, I've had podcasts that I record and I just delete it. I don't listen to it, just delete it. Because when I start talking, I feel the bitterness taking over and I feel it not being very helpful for me or anybody. And every time I've kept an episode, I've gotten some heated arguments with some people. I would just don't give a crap what they think. But I've had a lot of positive, like, hey man, that really helpful. I'm glad you said that. And this is even before when I had it as the Raw Christian Podcast. I changed it. I didn't like the name. I'm pretty content with Authenticity. I like that name. But the issue I'm having with why I don't record is because I feel like bitterness is just... I have so much bitterness with church. I think it's not as bad as it used to be, which is why I'm recording now, but I do not want to take bitterness and project it on anybody else. I don't want to be the sole reason when somebody said the other day one time I did a podcast and they said, yeah, I agree with what you just said. That's exactly why I don't go to church. I'm so glad you said that. I will never go to church. And then I just thought, I do not support somebody not going to church. I think once we realize to not worship the church, we need to worship the God that created the heavens, the God that created everything, the God, by the way, I believe in the Trinity. I do want to put that out there. I believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, that He's all three, all one and the same. Jesus is God. And I see a lot of churches and the issue and the flaw with the American missionaries. No, and I chose my words to call that the American missionaries, and from what I've mostly seen, and if you are a true, strict Bible-believing Christian, you will see the true flaw in the church in America. The vanity in church in America. There's a reason why I respect missionaries so much, and I wanted to give this push that right now I am trying to... I always said I never wanted to be in ministry, and as of right now, I'm just a working man, not in the ministry. I'm just a guy that goes to church, volunteer here, there. I feel the last bit of energy I have, I try to give it to the church. I give what I can, physically. But I'll be honest, if anybody knows, I attend New Spring Church, and they have a couple campuses throughout South Carolina. And, I get a lot of, over the years, especially where I came from, why do you go to New Spring Church? Actually, I left there before. No big reasons. I would leave because, and you actually want to know why I leave? If you see New Spring, it's a big church. But I said the thing they do that stood out to me And I just want to give a promotion towards a church, that there are good churches, and there's a lot like them. As big as they are, every time I left, somebody reaches out and sees on me. Consistently, actually. I left that church and went to a way much smaller church that only had a few people. And I've done it a couple times. Just thinking, if I was part of a smaller church, this would happen. And I left, and I think one time it was Christmas. The first time we left New Spring, we only went to this one church for a little bit, and we took the month off, and this church deleted us off of this group text and made smart comments at us like, hey, since y'all ain't going anymore, I guess y'all aren't doing this. And I guess I just said, well, I'm sorry, I don't worship your building and your church. I worship God. Just because I'm not in your building doesn't mean I'm not serving God. You know, there's missionaries right now that go to other countries, and guess what? They don't have a building. Guess what? They don't have a good meeting place. You know why? Because they can't. I know people right now who are getting... I met a man who literally before showed me the scars on his back where the skin got beat off for being a Christian. But please, tell me how I'm not right with God because of your little building. Now, my issue, where I project bitterness is when I look at America, I think church is a joke in America. It's not serious. Look at some of these pastors. Look at some of this leadership. Oh, we're struggling. We got space issues, but my wife has an office in this building. I was like, probably shouldn't have said that. I went to a church where pastors want to parade their families in front of the stage. I would actually not even call it a church. It's a family business. That's pretty accurate. The other day, I saw videos. They said, I remember over the years, a church, when the pastor's kids were children, they would have their children's kids come up with kids choir while the pastor's kids lead it. And then when their kids outgrew that, they all of a sudden dropped kids ministry. Kids ministry wasn't a priority anymore. Now, because you know why? The pastor's kid is now a teenager. Teenagers are priorities now. Then when their kids outgrow the teenagers, they dump the teens. They don't care about teen ministries anymore. They just move on to whatever the kids are moving. I call that a family affair. A pastor cares only about where their kids at the moment, and then they don't give a crap. I've seen a church do that. And even right now, when I said bitterness comes out, it's coming out right now. And that's why I don't upload a lot of podcasts. I love the church I'm at. They're doing a lot of things that are right. You can disagree. I feel like I can respectfully disagree with them, but there's a point I don't want to deal with. I love New Spring because I feel like they teach the Bible. I don't have to sit there and hear about the pastor's family all the time. His kids, his wife. Yes, you go to it, you're going to see the occasional, hey, here's my wife. Don't mind it. But when it becomes a every service thing, I have a problem with it. I don't come to church to hear about you. I come to church to learn about God, and to more so, I serve God. Because guess what? The church is not a building. The church is a people. The church are the people. Your home is the church. Church is my home. Church is with me everywhere. It ain't Sunday. That's the way it should be. And I feel like New Spring does a good job at that. New Spring did something a couple years ago, and a lot of people know this. This is another one I get. They fired their founding pastor. They could have, when I was there when it happened, they could have went under. That would be considered church suicide. I know churches said all it was, and you can even look it up. This ain't gossip starting. It was pretty public. He had an alcohol problem, and that was strictly why they ended up letting him. I guess it wasn't a one person; it was a board of people voted to get rid of him. The church is still going. Yeah, it took a blow on attendance, like every church would, but I feel like we're going strong, and I feel God's presence on it more than it was before that. But I'm going to say that I respect anybody because that would go through the risk. Now, what did they have to gain to go through that risk? To risk people losing their jobs going through this. That is some serious faith. But right now, I know churches that have their pastor right now. I got a vision of a pastor in my head in North Carolina who is sleeping with several women in his church openly. And they keep him. He don't care. Still preaching God. That's got to be somebody God's going to spew out your... He said, I will spew you out. You make God sick, according to the Bible. You make me sick. And a lot of pastors like that make me sick. And there's a lot of that going on in the American. I feel that God is calling me towards missions for this reason. I see my future. If I'm a full-time minister, it will be in missions. I really do believe that. You know how I talked to a church leadership, a couple guys, and I talked to our campus pastor, and I talked to another staff member. He's one of the disciple directors. And I told him, I feel, when I feel like this calling when I'm on Facebook and I'm seeing missionaries in other countries, very impoverished countries. They're so happy in this life. I told my wife that this life of comfort in America is just drowning me. I got a good job. And I just watched a movie. I actually never read Pilgrim's Progress. You remember, he could have stayed there, but he wanted something more, and he took the hard path to get it. And there's a scene in the movie, he could have stayed home and been comfortable, but he found out you're just trapped. And everybody called him crazy for leaving, and he left. And I'm going to fast forward, if everybody knows the story of Pilgrim's Progress. He comes into a fair called Vanity Fair. And I feel like with my job, where I work, this is where I feel like I'm at in life. There's the part in there where Vanity Fair, they're like, we have everything you ever wanted. And they said, what y'all have, you can't give me. Peace, joy. Y'all can never give me that. And they're just explaining, they called him crazy, and they actually persecuted him and killed one of them. And abused them because they were crazy. Like, what do you mean? And I just thought about when I saw that movie. Not long, somebody was talking about how I have everything at my job. You can make this money, your career, blah, blah, blah. And I said, what I want I literally said, this place can't give me. I can only find it by pursuing the King. The King, Jesus Christ. And you can only find that kind of peace. I might make stupid jokes. I feel guilty about it. And that movie, when I saw it, was such the perfect life, because there's a point where he loses his burden and gets salvation in the movie. And you would think, yeah, he did it. He lost his burden. And it represents becoming a Christian, and he has that joy. But slowly, that was like that. Everything got harder after that. And I'm in that point where it's just, I feel like I don't do the podcast a lot. I don't get on here a lot as much as I think I got so many ideas and notes for podcasts, and I haven't even recorded one, and it has nothing to do with laziness. It has with me being worthless. I am a worthless human being. And I said, I don't want to disgrace my holy King, my God, but getting on a podcast and leading somebody astray. Or even there's people that know me personally. I am not a righteous man by no means. I cuss like a sailor. I do perverted jokes at work. I actually told a guy last night at work, I need to stop this. Why do I do this? You know, I've been around the same people for years, so I cut around with them. But I don't want to be that guy. And someone says, I thought you were a Christian. That's not Christian-like. And I'm like, you're right. I burden for a lot of people I work. And I said, I got coworkers I look at. They don't know this, but I look at them as a family in a way. I love them. I want to help them. I see such despair, hopelessness, and misery, and I want to say, it's like my job's. You can't just witness the people because I don't want to risk HR, and you got to walk on toes, and you just want to be like, you could have such a better life in Jesus. I do promote. I told people I have a podcast, and I want to help them. And I invite people to church. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I bluntly say, yeah, I'm a Christian. I have a Bible I have in my back pocket, a small pocket Bible. But I want to be better than this. And I feel like I hear these stories while I'm going about people at work, and I hear people don't go to church because they can't find one. They don't go to church because they've been to church. And I heard somebody told me they went over to India on a missions trip, and they said what blown their mind was when they walked in, this one church had like actually I think they said it had 500 people. And he said every one of them were 100% sold out. He said when there was a need, that church got it, and all these people would come together and build a building for them. He said it'll be sloppy because they don't know what to do, but they're going to get that building built. And these people would hardly nothing, would throw everything. And everybody in there would have nothing to their name, but they would give all they have to help that church because that's the only place they can gather. And the guy I know that went over there said he asked him, like, my God, everybody here is sold out. He said, I go to church, and I said, we're lucky to have one or two people like that. But how is it you got everybody here? And the guy, the pastor in India, told him, and the pastor I think he said run that church, he was in America and was a missionary starting, and his job was to plant churches and train people for ministry in India. And the guy said, well, the difference over here is when people accept Christ in America, their lifestyle doesn't change. He said, and hear what I got to say here. When people in America, let's say a teenager accepts Christ, they go home, they're like, Mom, I accept Christ. Okay, that's cool. And nothing, for the most part, they're not getting kicked out of their home. He said they're not going to lose their job, and so on and so on. What he meant by, in America, you get saved, you're not going to lose your job, your family, you don't have people kicking you out, stay out of my house. You might get called a religious nut. That's the worst we get called. You're just a holy roller. You're a religious nut. You're one of those people. You're a legalist. Blah blah blah. Whatever name you have for a someone who's into the Bible. But in India, he says, when these people accept Christ, the moment they go accept Jesus in their heart, they know they're probably never going to talk to their mom, their daddy, their brother. They're probably going to lose their job. They probably have to be real careful. They could get arrested, beaten at a stake, etc. He said that's the risk they're taking. For the most part, that's what happens. So when they accept Christ, from that moment on, everything has changed. Every aspect of their life is literally different. But they got so much joy and peace. And he said, man, that's why I said I don't feel like I'm called into ministry in America. Because I heard some stories. I think what hinders our light and our spirit is not seeing what the other part of the world looks like. We live in a land I call America the land of luxury. Regardless of what you call poor, we're still richer than the average person over in India and Middle Eastern countries, and even heck, the glorious UK and Europe, the middle class aren't living great lives. But I sit there and I scroll on Facebook and hear a bunch of people who claim to be Christians, but they're so ungrateful, so entitled. They think they deserve it. They think they deserve everything handed to them. How are you supposed to get saved when you don't even... We got people... Most of America doesn't place, and how this worded, people in other parts of the world have to literally place their faith in God. But in America, you don't really have to place much faith in God, if you be honest, to literally take care of you, where your next meal comes from. Most people talk about how poor they are. One guy was telling me how he was stressed about money, so he went to the beach for a week. I don't understand how that works. When I was stressed about money, that was the last thing I did. Going on a nice vacation, stayed in a $300 a night hotel, because he was stressed about money for 7 days. Told me, because I said I was stressed, and he goes, yeah, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I went to the beach. I got a good 7-day getaway just because I was so stressed about money. I'm sitting there, I don't know. I just actually, through this podcast, I just picked up my microphone and started recording, wanted to lay out what was on my heart. I wanted to say, hey, I haven't recorded because of bitterness. When I look at the American missions, it's a flawed thing. It's really hard. The good churches are there. Don't be fooled that you see a church on every corner, because if everybody were all serving the God I believe in the Bible and all these churches, things would be way better in America. But why aren't they? I guarantee you, in each town, there's probably only one or two good church in each town. You see a church on every corner, but they ain't doing crap. All I see is a gathering of people. I know people that churches do outside hires, but the church staff treats them like dog crap. Oh, hey, we can't give anybody bonuses. We just bought a $4 million building. You know, pat on the back to us. Sorry, guys, no bonus. You see in America, pastors on 6 vacations throughout the year. She said, that's none of your business. It isn't, okay? I'm not knocking that. But I just look at it like that's not what I want. I see some of my friends over on the mission sides and watch the deep struggle. They tell me these stories, and then I get scared, but then they're like, oh, it was amazing. I'm like, how was that amazing? But it's something I don't understand, but it's something I want. And I'm really longing for it. So I'm trying to plan a missions trip next year, because I don't know where it's going to be. I'm waiting for a slot to open up with New Spring Missions. And I just wanted to throw this podcast, to get on here and speak my heart. Like I said, it's called Authenticity. I just don't want... I feel like I don't want to project bitterness, which I feel like I did right now. But it's like God's been dealing with me through my Bible reading. I have cold turkey quit devotionals. Somebody was talking to me, and I said, anytime you sit there and you're hearing somebody preaching and stuff, or you're hearing reading devotionals and books, which they're good, but you need don't replace, and I told my wife this yesterday, don't replace Bible reading with solely relying, read a long devotional with 2 verses attached to it, because ultimately you're reading someone's opinion. I really have learned a lot and got so much more by strictly reading my Bible this year. Not devotionals, not reading one verse. I had people that told me they read devotionals and then skip the verses. And then I don't want to be this guy, I'm a big Furtick guy. I'm a big this guy. I follow this guy. I like T.D. Jakes. I'm a big Francis Chan guy. I'm naming all the celebrity pastors, quotes. Read the Bible. Be a Jesus guy. Follow Jesus, not those men. Quit worshiping men. I'm seeing a lot of church worship, not God worship. That's who I feel like I'm following, is Jesus, God, my King, the guy who's everything to me. He's taking care of me greatly, more than I deserve. And I want that for everybody else, is to follow the King and let him take your burdens away. Don't have to feel heavy. I just hope this might have been an encouragement to anybody listening. I don't even have a title yet for this. Usually I get a title and whatever I'm going to call the episode. But I hope someone listens. I hope this encouraged to... You're saying, someone's like, well, how do I find a church? Read your Bible. That's the problem. People go... I hear all the time, someone's like, I got to get right with God. So I'm going to try to go to a church, and they just go to a thing that has church on the end. A lot of churches say different things. And if you're like, well, there's so many different versions of the Bible, I have studied versions pretty thoroughly. I'll throw out some I would recommend. I was like, you got the King James only people, but I'll say I would recommend New King James, easy read. ESV, it's an easy read. NLT, easy read. Those are ones right there I've studied deeply, pretty solid versions for starting out. And I would start with the Gospels. If you don't know anything, learn about him. I said Genesis is a good one, but the Gospels is always a good one. And then pray. And that's where I'm failing. Pray, meditate, study to be quiet. When you pray and say, is this the place? When people's listening, I have read the Bible for years. There was a time I thought I was too stupid. But I didn't realize when I start sitting there hearing talking and I'm catching stuff where I'm like, that ain't right. The Bible says this. I'm out of here. And there's a lot of people searching for something, but they go to people. And that's what I said, when you go into churches blindly, you're going to people. That's what I wanted to record about. Thought I'd just lay what was on my heart on spare of the moment. Please like and share if you think, or share this with somebody if you think they know, or if you think there's something they need to hear. Please, again, like and share on Facebook. Try to get some growth out of this. Hopefully I get some more episodes in, but right now I'm probably not going to be consistent with this. I at least want another milestone. I do not want to project bitterness, and I want better quality in recording. But again, I do not want to be that guy that leads people astray. I want to guide people to Christ, not push them away on any means. I was like, this has been Lewis with the Authenticity Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Authenticity Podcast. I'm your host, Lewis Miskelly. I'm going to cut right to the chase. I haven't done an episode in a long time. And I was literally just sitting here and, I wanted to get something uploaded, but I just wanted to say this because it's actually something I've been thinking about. When I've had a burden to, yes, be in ministry and be involved in ministry and further myself. And I'm taking steps, and I've been doing a strict Bible in 1 year plan. And God has literally been working on me with a lot of things. And I think about, I've had podcasts that I record and I just delete it. I don't listen to it, just delete it.